The autumn rain hammered against the floor-to-ceiling windows of the Ashford Tower as Maya Chen stepped into the marble lobby, her worn sneakers squeaking against the polished floor. At 19, she'd never been inside a building this grand, all chrome fixtures, and abstract sculptures that probably cost more than her family's annual income. "Delivery for Mr. Harrison Ashford," she told the concierge, holding up the insulated bag from Chen's kitchen, her family's struggling restaurant in Chinatown. The man barely glanced at her. "Service elevator. 42nd floor." Maya's stomach churned as the elevator climbed. She'd taken this delivery herself, because they couldn't afford to lose the tip from a penthouse order. Her mother was in the hospital again, and the bills were crushing them. When the elevator doors opened, Maya found herself in a private foyer more luxurious than any home she'd ever seen. She rang the doorbell, rehearsing her polite smile. The door swung open to reveal a man in his early 50s, silver-haired and sharp-eyed, wearing a cashmere sweater that probably cost a month's rent. Harrison Ashford, real estate magnate, whose face she'd seen in business magazines. "Your dinner, sir," Maya said, holding out the bag. "Bring it to the kitchen," he said curtly, already walking away. Maya followed him through the vast apartment, trying not to stare at the obvious wealth, the grand piano, the original artwork, the view of the city glittering below. But as they passed through the living room, something made her freeze mid-step. Hanging above the fireplace was a photograph in an ornate silver frame. A young woman with kind eyes and Maya's exact smile, wearing a nurse's uniform, standing in front of what looked like a clinic. Maya's bag slipped from her hand, hitting the floor with a muffled thud. "What are you doing?" Ashford turned, irritated. "That's expensive food. Why is my mother's photo in your house?" The words came out as barely a whisper. Ashford's expression shifted from annoyance to shock, then something harder. "Excuse me." Maya pointed at the portrait with a trembling hand. "That woman. That's my mother. Lin Chen. Why do you have her picture in your home?" The color drained from Ashford's face. He stood absolutely still, staring at Maya as if seeing a ghost. That's not possible. "Who are you?" "Maya Chen. Lin Chen is my mother. She raised me alone, worked double shifts her whole life, and now she's dying in County General because we can't afford the treatment she needs." Maya's voice cracked. "So I'm asking you again, why do you have her photograph?" Ashford moved to the sidebar and poured himself a drink with shaking hands. "You need to leave." "Not until you answer me." "I said get out." His shout echoed through the penthouse. "Take your food and go. I don't owe you any explanations." "My mother is dying." Maya shouted back, tears streaming down her face. "If you know something about her, if you meant something to her once, please. Your mother made her choice 20 years ago," Ashford said coldly. She walked away. "That's all you need to know." "What choice? What are you talking about?" "Security will escort you out if necessary. Leave. Now." Maya stood there, her whole body shaking, staring at this man, who somehow held pieces of her mother's past that she'd never known existed. Finally, she picked up the delivery bag and walked to the door. "Keep your money," she said quietly. "I don't want anything from you." That night, Maya sat by her mother's hospital bed, holding her frail hand. Lin Chen had been in and out of consciousness for days, her liver failure worsening. The doctors said she had weeks, maybe days, without a transplant they couldn't afford. "Mom," Maya whispered, "who is Harrison Ashford?" Even in her weakened state, her mother's eyes flew open. Where did you hear that name?" "I delivered food to his penthouse today." "He has your photo, Mom. From 20 years ago." Tears slipped down Lin's weathered face. "I never wanted you to know." "Know what?" Lin took a shaky breath. "I was a nurse at his family's private clinic. We fell in love. But his father, Harrison's father, threatened to destroy everything. My family's immigration status wasn't secure yet. He said he'd have us all deported if I didn't disappear. Harrison was supposed to take over the family business, marry someone from their social circle. I was a complication. So you just left." "I found out I was pregnant with you the day I left. I never told him. I thought it would be easier for everyone." Lin gripped Maya's hand weakly. "I gave you my whole heart instead. I never regretted that choice." Maya felt like the floor had dropped out from under her. "He's my father. I'm sorry, baby. I'm so sorry." For 3 days, Maya wrestled with what to do. She didn't want anything from Harrison Ashford. The man had made it clear he wanted nothing to do with her. But every time she visited her mother and saw her getting weaker, rage burned in her chest. This man had the resources to save her mother's life without even noticing the expense. And he was Maya's father, whether he wanted to acknowledge it or not. On the 4th day, Maya returned to Ashford Tower. This time, she waited in the lobby until she saw him leaving for the day. Mr. Ashford, she called out, intercepting him near his car, his jaw tightened. I thought I made myself clear. My mother told me everything. About your father's threats. About why she left. That's ancient history. She's dying. Her liver is failing. She needs a transplant, and we can't afford. I'm not a bank for every sob story that walks through my door, Ashford cut her off. Your mother made her decision. She chose to raise you in poverty rather than be part of my life. That's not my problem. I'm your daughter. Maya's voice broke. Doesn't that mean anything to you? For just a moment, something flickered in his eyes, pain, perhaps, or regret. But it hardened into ice. I don't have a daughter. I have a company to run and a reputation to maintain. If you continue harassing me, I'll file a restraining order. He climbed into his town car and drove away, leaving Maya standing alone in the rain. Maya threw herself into work, picking up every shift she could, trying to raise money she knew would never be enough. She watched her mother fade a little more each day, and the helplessness ate at her soul. 2 weeks after her confrontation with Ashford, Maya was cleaning tables at the restaurant when a well-dressed woman in her 60s walked in. She looked out of place among the modest surroundings. Are you Maya Chen? The woman asked. Yes. I'm Eleanor Ashford. Harrison's mother. Maya's heart started pounding. I don't want any trouble. Neither do I, dear. May we talk? They sat in a back booth, and Eleanor studied Maya's face with tears in her eyes. You look just like your mother did at your age. I knew her, you know. She was the kindest person I'd ever met. My husband. She paused, composing herself. My husband did terrible things to maintain our family's image. I didn't have the courage to stop him then. I've regretted it every day since. Why are you here? Because my son is making the same mistake his father did, choosing pride and status over love and family. He's been miserable for 20 years, and I'm tired of watching it. Eleanor pulled out an envelope. This is a check. For your mother's medical care. It's from my personal account, not the family trust. I want to help. Maya stared at the check, her vision blurring. It was enough for the transplant, the treatment, everything. I can't accept this. Yes, you can. Your mother sacrificed everything because of my family's cruelty. Let me do this one thing to make amends. What about your son? Eleanor's expression turned sad. Harrison is stubborn and scared. He's convinced himself that everyone who claims to care about him wants something from him. His father taught him that. But I'm hoping that perhaps, in time, he'll come around. In the meantime, your mother needs help now. Maya took the check with shaking hands and sobbed. The surgery was scheduled within a week. Maya's uncle turned out to be a perfect match for the donation, and Lin Chen's prognosis brightened dramatically. Maya spent every moment she could at the hospital, finally allowing herself to hope. On the 5th day after the surgery, when Lin was sleeping peacefully and Maya was dozing in the bedside chair, she heard the door open. She looked up to see Harrison Ashford standing in the doorway, looking uncertain for the first time since she'd met him. How did you? My mother told me, he said quietly. He moved closer, staring at Lin's sleeping face with an expression of such profound grief that Maya felt her anger soften slightly. She looks so different. Older. But still beautiful, Maya finished. She worked herself to exhaustion to give me a good life. She never complained, never spoke badly of you. She told me you probably never knew about me. I didn't. Ashford's voice was rough. My father controlled everything, my education, my career, who I could associate with. When Lin disappeared, he told me she'd taken money to leave, that she'd never really cared about me. I was young and stupid enough to believe him. And now? Now I'm old enough to know that my father was a tyrant, who destroyed lives to maintain power. He looked at Maya, really looked at her. My mother showed me the letter your mother wrote me 20 years ago. The one my father intercepted and hid. She told me about you, said she loved me but couldn't stay, that she was sorry. Maya felt tears sliding down her cheeks. Why are you here? Because I've spent 20 years alone, surrounded by wealth and success, and I've been miserable every single day. Because my mother is right. I'm repeating my father's mistakes. He took a shaky breath. I don't expect forgiveness. I don't deserve it. But I wanted you to know that I'm sorry. I'm sorry I turned you away. I'm sorry I was cruel. And I'm sorry I wasn't there for either of you. Lin's eyes fluttered open. When she saw Harrison standing there, she gasped, struggling to sit up. Harrison. He moved to her bedside like a man in a trance. Lin. God, Lin, I'm so sorry. For everything. Maya watched as her mother reached out and took Harrison's hand. 20 years of pain and separation hung in the air between them, but also something else, the ember of love that had never quite died. You have a daughter, Lynn whispered. Her name is Maya, and she's the best thing I've ever done. Harrison turned to look at Maya, and this time his eyes were full of tears. I can see that. She's remarkable. He looked back at Lynn. You were always stronger than me. Braver. We were both trapped by circumstances, Lynn said gently. But maybe it's not too late to move forward. 3 months later, Maya stood in the newly renovated Chen's kitchen, watching the lunch crowd fill the expanded dining room. Harrison had invested in the restaurant, not as charity, but as a business partnership that let her family maintain their dignity and ownership. He'd also set up a scholarship fund for Maya to finish college while still helping run the family business. Their relationship was complicated and cautious, but it was growing. They had Sunday dinners together every week, and Harrison was learning to be the father he'd never had the chance to be. Lynn's recovery had been miraculous. She was back on her feet, splitting her time between the restaurant and volunteer work at a free clinic. The shadow of death that had hung over her had lifted, and watching her laugh with Harrison over dumplings, Maya sometimes forgot all the years they'd lost. You're staring, her mother said, smiling at her. Just thinking, Maya replied. About how different everything is from a few months ago. Harrison set down his chopsticks. I've been thinking about that too. Maya, I want you to know, I'm going to spend the rest of my life making up for the time we lost. I can't get those years back, but I can be here now. I know, Maya said. And that's enough. Is it? Harrison asked quietly. I failed you both so completely. You were a victim of your father's cruelty too, Lynn said. And you've spent your whole life punished by it. But you made the choice to change. That's what matters. Maya thought about that night in the rain, standing outside his building, feeling so alone and rejected. And she thought about now, sitting in their family restaurant, building something new together. Mom's right, Maya said. People make mistakes. What defines them is whether they are brave enough to fix those mistakes when they get the chance. Harrison's eyes glistened. When did you become so wise? I had a good teacher, Maya said, smiling at her mother. As the lunch rush continued around them, the three of them sat together, a fractured family, slowly healing. It wasn't a fairy tale ending. There would be difficult conversations ahead, old wounds to tend, relationships to rebuild. But for the first time in 20 years, there was hope, and sometimes, Maya had learned, hope was enough to build on.